As the sun began to rise on Monday, the 5th of January 1846, it was, by all accounts, a cold, frosty morning, and it was to be a controversial one. But for notorious hangman William Calcraft, it wasn't all that unusual. After strangling a woman to death in Westminster the previous month, 23-year-old Martha Browning was to become the first woman publicly hanged here at Newgate in 14 years, and from an early hour, thousands had gathered to watch. The majority, however, from their language and behaviour, seemed to be of the lowest class, and the Patriot would report that it was an immense gathering of the most wretched of both sexes. Inside the prison, though, Calcraft entered her cell at 5 minutes to 8, and then, when the chapel bell rang, led her out towards the scaffold, which had been erected, as ever, here by the debtor's door in front of the building. The crowd, on seeing her, jeered, laughed, and shouted taunts, but she walked with a firm step, it was reported, and showed not the slightest symptom of fear as he placed the rope around her neck. "The Lord have mercy on my soul," she said as he pulled the bolt, but a disturbing scene had then followed. An imperfect adjustment of the rope had reportedly botched this particular execution, and Browning struggled considerably, it was said, for some minutes before she died. Calcraft, at one point, was even seen pulling on her legs, while a crush in the crowd beneath them left dozens of people trampled and a 9-year-old girl critically injured. When she was finally dead, though, her body was then left hanging for an hour, as was usual, but Calcraft then quickly had to leave, over at Horsemonger Lane Jail, with his execution set for the unusual time of 10 o'clock. 22-year-old Samuel Quennell was being made to wait so that Browning could die first. Many newspapers considered that appalling, totally unnecessary, and complained that the portion of the public that delights in the horrible had simply been given ample opportunity of indulging a depraved appetite. But Calcraft, regardless, was mobbed by the crowd as he left to climb into the waiting cab. As he then jauntily made his way along Blackfriars Road here, thousands of them had followed and were loudly cheering him as they rushed alongside to watch 2 hangings in one morning. It was abhorrent, the Sun would report, to see him conveyed like a gentleman from the scene of one judicial slaughter to another. But by the time he arrived here on Horsemonger Lane, another huge crowd had gathered. When Quennell saw him at his cell door, he will have realised that Browning was dead. But on being led out to the gallows on the roof, he seemed free of any nervousness or agitation. On standing beneath the crossbeam, it was reported, he spoke a few words to the chaplain, and then, when the fatal moment arrived, died almost without a struggle. After what had happened at Newgate, Calcraft was probably relieved. I'll see you back here next week for another Morbid Monday.